now in 2026, staying healthy in Nigeria will no longer be about discipline. It will definitely be about survival, because food prices are still high and portions are shrinking, as well as many families are now having to choose between what is filling and what should be nutrition or nutriment. So the question this morning is simple. How do we protect our health when even 3 meals a day feels like luxury? So we're going to speak with health experts who say that while the economy has made nutrition harder, it has not made it possible. The solutions may not be glamorous, but they can save lives.
Absolutely. Joining us to have this very healthy conversation on the matter are Ann Udo-Umo, registered dietitian, and also joining us via Zoom, Dr. Perfecta Osawaru, naturopath and acupuncturist. Welcome, ladies. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Grand. For joining.
And if you don't mind, let me start with Dr. Perfecta, who's joining us online. Dr. Perfecta, grand that you join us today. It's been a very long time since we saw you here on the show. But we're coming to you today because it's only just past December. People perhaps maybe have had a lot of, this and that during the season. But then again, when reality hits and your pocket is flat, now is the time to actually face consequences. Nigeria today is not a very, very great place to live. How can we manage healthy eating, especially now when means are low?
Thank you for the question. So for us to manage healthy eating, like the question said, like the topic says rather, balancing nutrition, I'd say it's focusing on the right mix of foods to eat in the right portions that your body actually needs. Not in excess and not in deficient. And I'm emphasizing not in excess and not in deficient because some people often, go overboard by constantly eating, and in that, the body does not actually need that much. And while some other people reduce the amount of foods that they eat, and then they start getting very deficient of nutrients that their body needs. So the balance would be constantly consuming what you need, what your body needs necessarily per time, as opposed to just, consuming, out of moderation.
Well, look, out of moderation, but let's come back home here in Nigeria, and let me come to you and talk about the fact that our staple foods happen to be lots of carbs. Although we have meals that are rich in probiotics, but there's a lot of questions about our vegetable intake, and what comes with vegetable intake is storage, right? So let's talk about that, how we can stay nutritious, take a nutritious meal, but also switch up on our staples.
So I think first of all, the fundamental problem we have as Nigerians is that carbs give more mileage. That's why we buy more.
Oh, yeah.
So satiety over nutrition has always been the rule of the game. I remember that as younger children, we'll have such huge bowls of rice, but like a very tiny piece of meat or a tiny piece of fish.
That is not normal?
That is not normal.
Oh.
Yes. So we've always chosen mileage and satiety over nutrition. So now, as adults, it's a bit difficult to switch because that's what we've been used to. The patterns are continuous.
I've switched really well. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, because as women, whenever we get to that cycle period, we're craving a lot of protein.
Yeah,
exactly. And iron. Yeah. But for me, I crave a lot of protein and iron. I realize that I'm a proud carnivorous animal. So my meal is, there's fish, there's turkey, there's chicken, there's also a large steak on there as well.
Are you adopting children? Just asking.
Oh yeah, well, I thought about it. Do you want to be one of them?
Yeah.
But you're too old, sorry.
So the thing remains that we need to switch. There has to be a place for the carbs. There has to be a place for vegetables. And I don't agree when Nigerians say that Nigerian meals are not healthy. It's the question of what exactly are you buying and putting on your plate. You have vegetables from efo to tete, shoko, water leaf, bitter leaf, okra, ugu, green, that's like African spinach. These are all a variety that can be mixed up with different types of complementary ingredients like maybe green peppers or even atarodo itself, like scotch bonnet, and make up sauces as opposed to the typical red stew that we're used to. So if you're able to have the carbs, the vegetables, and the protein on your plate in the various proportions that it should be, just like Dr. Perfecta said, is eating according to what your body needs per time. So it's a balancing conversation that I think that a lot of Nigerians are not, first of all, open to, because you see like how food bloggers try to do innovations with cooking. Oh, that's not how my mommy cooked it. Oh, that's not how my grandmother cooked it. Yes, we agree that that is not how it was traditionally made. But we're saying that times and seasons are evolving. You weren't using GSM in the 90s, but you're using GSM now. So why won't you evolve?
I will accept that, but please don't put pepper inside pokpof. That's where we draw the line.
I don't think
That's
that's
where we
bad.
draw the
I don't
line.
think that's bad. Actually, I actually have had one like that. That was in Benin Republic. Actually, they have their snacks, you know, with all of these things. But Dr. Perfecta, let's talk about cost and availability here. While we're talking about, you know, balanced eating, you said something that actually jumped out at me, and it's the fact that we might be eating a bit more than we are supposed to. And it makes me wonder exactly how much I could have saved all these 40 years since, when I'm eating all these extras. I know that we eat a bit too much carbs, we eat a bit too much rice that we don't necessarily need. So going with the times, how can people begin to prorate their spending and the availability of whatever kind of meals that they are, and how can they find a balance between healthy eating and also spending?
All right, so thank you. I'm going to start with what Ann said about, you know, adding all the vegetables, effortete, and the spinach and all of that she said. So I'd say that if people want to, you know, incorporate new meals into what they are already used to, as in the carbs, back to back, it should come like one per time. So if you're not used to it at all, how about you try introduce vegetables today? How about tomorrow you try introduce one apple, one banana, and all of that? So you are, you know, because it's hard for people to just change what they're used to. Getting back to what Ann, you know, they're used to carbs, and they're just a tiny piece of meat. So how about you introduce things like slowly, as opposed to, you know, just introducing them in bulk, and that just, you know, it just clamps the end goal of what you're trying to do, you know, trying to balance out the nutrition, right? So instead of just focusing, I think for a general rule, once your plate feels bare, like it's just one type of food, then you know there's a problem already, right?
Okay.
So introduce colors. When I say colors, I mean like the fruits, there's carrots, there's apple, just introduce something else that makes the food not look, if that's just the simple thing that someone has to take home from this, just introduce colors to your meal. So you know that once your food feels beige, then it is not good, it's a problem. So when it comes to cutting down on cost, I feel like there are 1 or 2 or 3 things that I can say that can help people.
Please.
So first, it's something I call the cook once, eat twice strategy. So these are for people that maybe, you know, if you're talking about people that have like really low income and they don't have like a source of refrigerator at home and all of that. So, and I'm sure that we have done that once or twice in our life. So when you cook one time, so you cook like maybe a big portion of yam or rice or pottage, and then you cook it once, but you can eat it like the next day, right? And actually save costs for those sort of people. And then for the other people that have the privilege of like maybe a refrigerator at home, then you can cook in bulk, or they buy stock. It's called like strategic shopping, when you like buy in bulk, right? And then cook in bulk. So either of those, you know, solutions can work for.
But am I eating too much rice? Am I eating too much rice if most of my plate is filled with rice? I'm asking this because rice is kind of like Nigeria's staple food. And everybody, when you see, in fact, when I see some people eat, I'm like, that's a lot. Is that good for you or is that bad?
It's relative. But again, I like I said, if you're eating too much rice, you're always eating too much rice. Your plate is just plain. Yes, it is. It's not so good for you. I mean, you have to add in other like nutrients into your, because you're eating like your large chunk of food is just filled with carbohydrates only. So how about you add like some vitamins, minerals, and all of that into your food, or protein, like that?
When I was younger, my uncle forced us not to eat more rice, because that's all we loved. We didn't like eba or gari or swallow in its entirety, except for one of my siblings. What you would say is that if you keep going, the rice would turn to seeds, and you would have to sprout it out the other way, you know, and that sort of deterred us. And so it takes us to families that have children, right? That's really what they gravitate towards too. So spaghetti, when they're packing food for lunch, is more convenient for them, isn't it? Noodles, rice, and as we're going into school season, how can they, you know, prioritize the colors that you speak of in their plates?
All right. You know, like what Ann says now, we're not in that generation where it's just one straight way, just one thing like that. So now people add carrots. They chop carrots, green peas, corn into their like white rice. So you want to cook white rice? How about you dice some carrots in it?
Doctor, you haven't seen You haven't seen a very creative kid that picks out the carrots and the, you haven't seen them pick out the carrots and the onions even out of, they would take their time, sweet time to pick it out.
Okay, how about then they make that into, I mean, if children tend to not like those colors in their plates, how about they make it like a smoothie or something for them to drink alongside? The end goal is the end goal is the nutrition, the balance that we're looking at. So whatever way applies to your kid or to the person, the end goal is for them to balance out the mix of food. So if they don't like to see it in their plate, how about you blend it for them to take a drink, right? So we're just looking for that balance so that their body gets the entire nutrition, the nourishment that it needs. Because in the end goal, food is for fuel, it's for nourishment of the body, right? It's to support their energy. And you don't want them to actually just be deficient in one nutrient because they don't like to see colors in their plate.
Right. Let me come to you. And do you have, because I can see that you wanted to add to that in terms of like eating colors in your plates. But there's also that misconception that preserving it is the issue, because parents and families like to cook in bulk, you know. Vegetables are not really the best to store or preserve or save in your fridge. So how else can we get creative?
So just like Dr. Perpetua was saying, that because a child says they don't want to eat something, they don't like something, doesn't mean they cannot eat it. There are creative ways. For instance, I have a friend who has picky eaters for nieces, and she tries, two of her nieces have iron deficiency. So what she does is that she boils a lot of their food in beetroot water. So that way, the food that is being cooked, whether it's rice, it's plantain, it's beans. It's
already got those nutrients.
Yes, absorbs the beetroot. In fact, the beetroot can be sneaked into stew.
Yes.
Because it's the same color. I remember there was a time we were doing
carrot stew.
Tomato was expensive. Exactly. So these are creative ways to sneak in vegetables. In terms of preservation, I think that we need to go back to how things were stored in the early days. There is air drying. There is, I mean, NEPA is not the most reliable, but everybody seems to have inverters these days.
No, you can't.
Everybody?
You can't.
Everybody?
Your inverters can't carry certain appliances like a fridge or anything that makes heat.
So
there is a very big problem when it comes to preservation.
It. So what I'm saying in essence is that we have sun drying, for instance. You can sun dry tomatoes, you can sun dry tatashe. I mean, they sell dry tatashe in the market that you come and then add water to for it to flourish, then you blend and use for stew. So I know that the pepper and tomato family can be sun dried, and that is a mode of preservation. Same thing goes for onions. For the bell peppers, they're pretty expensive, so you don't want.
You can also batch make your smoothies as well.
You can batch with those ones. You can even wrap the top of the pepper with foil paper, and it stays the same. You can wrap in newspapers, dump in Ziploc bags for those that have refrigerators or freezers, and it stays the same. So we just have to be. I think that the problem with nutrition in Nigeria is the lack of open-minded variety. No, there's variety, but we're not open-minded.
Is there really variety?
There is.
Let me tell you a story. So I once decided to go vegetarian. I will never do it again. It was a terrible experience.
You're Nigerian.
I also felt ill, like in the first 1 week. My body wasn't having it, like, no, we want meat.
Yeah.
And then we had to go back. But it was a very difficult thing to do because it was very expensive.
Yes.
It was also very expensive because you have to preserve these things. And if you don't have power, then, I mean, you can't be a vegetarian in Nigeria if you are not rich and you don't have power.
Exactly.
So if I'm thinking of a healthier 2027, looking at the budget, looking at the availability, how could I, if I wanted to go the way of being vegetarian, sustain that kind of a lifestyle? Dr. Perfecta, I'm also going to be asking you the same thing. So if you have any, but Anne, please, let's.
Well, so I do market surveys very often because, like, I cannot tell you to go and buy something if I don't know the price of it. What I've come to realize is that there are specific markets for specific things, right? And we like convenience. So we go to one market and buy everything and the cost skyrockets. So how about we decide to have this culture where we buy together, specific things together in certain markets. If you are looking for fruits and vegetables, mile 12 is your option. If you are looking for provisions, Okari or Ojuwe market is the option. I'm talking about people in Lagos. If you're looking for meat of any kind, there's several abattoirs.
Bulk buying brings down the price.
Bulk buying in company. With others. So you have, I mean, there are even business models that have now been created based on that. You have a couple of vendors on Instagram who do meat sharing.
Yeah.
You also have some people who do crayfish sharing.
It brings down the price, but how does it help preservation?
So because you're buying in bulk, you're buying fresher.
Okay.
And you're most likely buying what is in season. So because it is at its most premium quality,
it'll stay longer.
It will stay longer, so the spoilage intent is reduced. Now, one thing you can also do is find a way to reduce moisture in any of these things, which is where sun drying or oven drying has come in. So dry your foods, whatever it is, just dry it.
I won't lose nutrients.
You will not lose nutrients as long as you're doing it the right way, I beg your pardon. So which is why we say sun drying, because the sun really cannot do you any harm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Sun dry.
Sun dry.
Dr. Perfecta, do you agree? But also, I do have to ask you a question, right? I have cravings, and I also have a bad case of sugar tooth or sweet tooth. And it only happens when I'm stressed out or I'm around that time of the month. You know what I mean? And so I do have to ask, how does stress, and hustling contribute to our nutrition? And how can I curb my sweet tooth and curb the stress of it, as you are an acupuncturist, so you know the stress points to press?
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So where do I start from? Let me first start with what Anna said. I just wanted to add that, when she talked about buying in bulk, that was actually going to save a lot, because when you come together and you actually buy things like in bulk, that just helps. And buying foods that are in season, because like seasonal foods, they retain that old premium freshness and they don't spoil easily. And so now back to the question on cravings. So I look at it like this way. When is that time of the month when you're craving something? It's your body actually communicating what it needs. So you're craving a sweet tooth. Your body is actually communicating that it needs the nutrient. I mean, like more of that nutrient, not the sweet tooth that you're liable to consume. I don't know if you get what I just said.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So yes, at that time of the month you're craving like a sweet tooth and stuff, but your body's telling like, okay, we need more of this, we need more sugar, we need more nutrients like that. But oftentimes we don't pay attention to what we need. So we're supposed to be eating whole foods to produce our body that nutrient it needs, not crave the sugar that our tooth desires. If that makes any sense to you, right? And then for you to learn to cope that is being informed, like I just informed you right now. So you're going to start substituting that and providing your body what it needs because it's deficient of something. That's why you keep craving that. And then for stress, stress has a role to play in, eating that, because if you're stressed, at that time you just want to, grab something that is like over the counter, something fast to just curb that, or because you're tired, you don't want to put in time to cook and all of that. And that's where the old meal prepping thing will come into play. Because if you actually prep your meal, or you have the strategic plan of what you need to eat per time or per week, it helps you curb that what's the word now? The ability to always, just pick up something that's, that is over the counter, like fast food, when you're in a stress space. And so, and that way, because you've prepped your meals, because you've had a plan, like a strategic plan in place for the nutrients that your body needs, you then don't fall into that old fast food game, as opposed to, eating what you've prepared for yourself nutritiously.
Dr. Perfecta, I stopped taking in soda, but then I started craving juices. These are packaged juices, preserved, company. And I'm wondering if this is safe. Am I doing myself harm, or are they alternatives that are affordable?
Ann face says it all.
Say again? Ann's face, yeah? Well, Ann, maybe we should ask Ann. Ann, so what do you want to say?
They're the same.
They're the same?
One and the same. I'm so sorry. I mean,
you don't have to
said
be sorry, don't worry.
Packed juices, right?
Yeah, packed juices,
yeah. They are one and the same. Because half the time, and I mean no harm, but half the time, these packed juices have concentrates of the fruits, not the actual fruit itself. So you have so many other things that are inside, stabilizers, and then for something to stay on a shelf for a specific period of time, it has to have some type of preservative.
Okay.
And preservatives are either sugar or salt-based. So you have extra sugar most times with juices than you would normally have. So it's not, oh, I'm drinking juice. What kind of juice are you drinking? Even with your freshly made juice, we advise that as much as you can, you should eat your fruits whole so that your body has the ability to go through the entire process of digestion of a fruit. Note that some foods like fruits or carbs, digestion generally starts in the mouth, and that's why we are always begging, please chew your food.
Okay, so I'll take that because I hear that I shouldn't blend my bananas. I don't know why.
Just eat it.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
They do feel a bit too filling when you blend them anyway. So
exactly.
A petition for all of the restaurants and most hospitality places that do buffets. You've heard it from the nutritionists. Those fresh juices that you put on your menu and you serve us in pitchers, we already know it's box juice. Please, just be very clear what it is, because I fought with them every single day. Christmas Day, I was like, I know what this is. I could taste it from a mile away. You said fresh juice.
It's not fresh.
It's not fresh.
Juice.
It's packed juice. But I mean, Dr. Perfecta and Ann, I must say thank you so much for taking out the time to join us here and just give us your insight. Be creative with your food in 2026. Prioritize healthy eating. Make sure that your plates are colorful, and also avoid stress if you can. If you don't, Dr. Perfecta, where's the point do I need to press to remove the stress? Is it here or here? Where?
It depends. I mean, you could actually.
Oh, it's here?
Temples.
I see. Okay, here. Do like this. Ladies, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you for taking out the time to join us this morning.